Today, I want to talk about Gaza, and more specifically, the ceasefire deal that has been reached between Gaza and Israel. And this just went into effect, so we're just getting the initial details, and some of it still seems kind of foggy on what exactly is going to be happening. And in the past, it has been where, oh yeah, we thought we had the framework of a deal, and then, oh, by the way, Israel went and, started striking other areas and basically ratcheted the tensions back up. But for now, there is supposedly a ceasefire deal that has been reached. So what I want to do is I want to take a look at breaking points and their coverage of it, and then provide some of my insights as well.
Indeed. So big news yesterday. Of course, we've been tracking the possibility of a deal being struck between Israel and Hamas and the other Palestinian factions. Yesterday, President Trump received a note during this Antifa roundtable situation. We'll talk about that more later in the show, indicating that such a deal was on the verge of being consummated. Let's go ahead and take a look at that moment.
Criminal conspiracy.
Okay. I'm just given. Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
So he says they're pretty close to a deal. They're going to need me quickly. I believe, Sagar, that photographers were able to zoom in on that, and it said basically we need you to approve a Truth Social post,
yes,
so that you can be the first to announce it.
And just of course, that's what it said. Like, how unserious. Like, of all things, why is that what is brought ahead? Like, I don't know. There's nothing else that could be put on that note. Like, this couldn't have been set up beforehand. Like, we didn't see this coming down the turn here. What is going on here? Again, just laughable and completely unserious, but this is where we find ourselves.
We'll let Jeremy lay out all of the details here, but there are some similarities between the ceasefire deal that Trump was able to strike at the beginning of his term in office, in that you'll remember that he presented this as a sort of comprehensive peace deal that would lead to some lasting settlement involving him and Tony Blair running the Gaza Strip, et cetera. From what we can tell, it appears those pieces have been pushed off, including the incredibly tricky and controversial piece of Hamas completely disarming and laying down their weapons along.
Here's the thing about that is, of course, that has all been stripped out. Like, that made absolutely no sense. And the thing is, like, that literally is colonization there, in my opinion. Like, by us stepping in and taking over. And by the way, I don't think Israel actually would want that either. I think they would have viewed it, to the extent that they were saying, oh, yes, you can do that, is that they probably thought, oh, yeah, the U.S. will own it, but for all intents and purposes, we will actually be the ones with control over the area. And just from a U.S. perspective, why would we even want to have that? Because, I mean, I understand, right, where it's, oh, yeah, we're getting paid all this money to go in and build, and we're gaining all of the, income from tourism there and whatever. Okay, so that, fine. But that region in general is so unstable. How would you even imagine that? I mean, I can imagine it because we already do it all over the Middle East. We have tons of bases over there. But do we really want to have a strip of land that we are responsible for, like fully responsible for over there? Because I don't see that going well at all. Because now, if Iran or whoever gets pissed off at us, what can they actually do? Like, they can't actually strike us. So who cares? Like, yes, we shouldn't be over there anyway for a plethora of reasons. But if they get pissed off, it's hard to actually strike back at us. Whereas if we have a piece of land that is ours over there, it's very easy to strike at us. So it just seems like a bad idea on all fronts. I don't think we should be over there. Again, I think we should completely remove ourselves from the situation. But the pitch of, oh, hey, by the way, we're going to have a Riviera, Gaza Riviera. Absolutely not. Like, no, thank you. Like, let's not do that. It just seems like a bad idea overall.
With other Palestinian resistance factions. It looks like predominantly what they have come to a deal on, and again, this hasn't been officially announced, so we don't have all of the details yet, but is on the hostage exchange and the lines that Israel would withdraw to. Now, the initial phase of this deal does not require Israel to withdraw from the Gaza Strip entirely. In fact, the entire quote-unquote peace deal, as envisioned, as presented to the American public, does not require Israel to completely withdraw from the Gaza Strip at any point. So that is an obviously extraordinary concession on the part of the Palestinians that Israel continue to occupy in large part the Gaza Strip. They also would be giving up all of the Israeli hostages and the bodies that they keep. In exchange, Israel will be releasing thousands of Palestinian hostages, most of whom are individuals that they have picked up post-October 7th, including all of the women and children that they have been holding as hostages would be released as part of this deal. Aid would be allowed to flow at the rates that were present during that initial ceasefire during Trump's, the early days of Trump being in office as well. So those are some of the broad strokes of what we know at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the most significant is the hostages. Of course, we're happy to see all of them come home, as well as the release of the Palestinian prisoners. They say here the IDF will withdraw from some 70% of the Gaza Strip. Of course, as you said, there's still quite a bit more to go for any sort of future negotiation.
And by the way, just to throw this in here, because when this was taped versus when I'm recording versus when the deal was struck, like when it went into effect, since it's went into effect, like in the immediate hours after, there were already 17, I believe it was recorded 17 people who have been killed since the ceasefire. So you have to take all of this with a grain of salt. Is this actually a ceasefire? What is going on? Can we actually believe what they're saying? Take all of that with a grain of salt. I just wanted to, again, cover this because I think it is important. And also, I do think Trump is finally getting to essentially say, hey, this is the last straw. We're actually putting our foot down. Maybe. We'll see. But it seems like he's finally getting to that point where he's feeling the pressure from his constituency. And, oh, by the way, they have to have something to present going into midterm elections, because otherwise, yeah, all of them are just going to get, like, whoever's in power is going to be seen as enabling what's going on in the Middle East, which is wildly unpopular. And so he needs to make... And who knows, right? After the midterms, maybe they just go back, hey, it blew up, it fell apart for some made-up reason. And then they just resume on what they're doing. That very easily could be the case. So do not discount that that's all that's going on right now, because if I was a smart political operator, that's what I would be doing right now. I would be putting my foot down and saying, nope, we need to pause this. Right, we'll present it as we're done with it. It's a ceasefire deal, so that we gain popularity going into the midterms, and then after the midterms, after they're done voting, go ahead, just ramp it back up. It's only going to be a couple of months. Just it's a temporary pause for you and whatever. So I 100% think that could be what is going on here. And by the way, to the Hamas point of it, I don't think they truly want to get rid of Hamas anyway, them being Israel. I don't think Israel wants to get rid of Hamas, because constantly through history, what has happened is they have used Hamas as a reason to go in and bomb, Gaza or wherever, right? Some Palestinian settlement, one of them. And so that is the thing about Hamas, is they don't, Bibi's always said, oh yeah, we control the height of the flame. And so if you're using them essentially as your scapegoat because they're going to lash out against you because you've been treating them so poorly, by the way, yeah, Hamas is not going to be, they don't want to get rid of them. They've propped them up. They propped them up in the first place. Israel did. And then, by the way, they continue. They fund them. So, like, yeah, they don't actually want to get rid of them because it's good for Israel. Because now, when something eventually pops off, well, now they can justify going in and bombing them for 2 years now, or whatever time frame. And so it's just something that's baked into their plan. So yeah, it's a joke that they would actually demand that Hamas demilitarizes anyway. That would actually be in opposition to what their hidden agenda is.
Rafah Crossing with Egypt will actually open, as you said, for aid deliveries. First and foremost, just want to say any progress whatsoever is great, in particular, in releasing the hostages as well as just ending the hostilities in the immediate term. We actually have some video of people.
And the point about the aid getting in through the Rafah crossing, that actually is really good. Because then they have a place that they can go to receive aid, that they don't have to be concerned that they're going to get shot up. Like, it's not going to be a literal kill zone where they're bringing them in and then they go, Hamas, Hamas, and then they just gun everyone down. Because that's what's going on right now at the aid areas. So, yes, that is a huge benefit as well, and it's good to see that that is happening.
People in Gaza celebrating that. A4, please, just we can go ahead and show everyone. This is from the streets of Gaza outside. Does that look like a hospital area? So you can see, lots of people celebrating, and of course, much of the population just been decimated through this literally 2-year long war now at this time. So, I'm happy for them. They've been through hell. There's been, we've covered it now for over 2 years, and it genuinely feels like almost a lifetime ago. But at the very least, some people can breathe for a period of time. Some of the hostages can come home, the Israeli hostages, they can go. And from here, there's still a lot of different ground to cover, right?
Yeah.
We have 30% still that will remain is occupied. I will note in all Israeli statements, they are making very clear it's only phase 1 that we are agreeing to, which, if we'll recall, we had previous hostage releases where phase 1 was agreed to, we had some hostage, but then eventually phase 2 was never eventually carried through.
And that's the point that I'm making, or that I was making before, right? Is that this is just phase 1, and very easily it could not ever reach phase 2 again, because all they need to do, in my opinion, if I'm, a sneaky political operator and I'm realizing that we're going to get gutted in the midterms because people are pissed off about what's going on in Israel and that we continue funding a genocide, essentially, well then, hey, guess what? Yeah, we're going to say, look, I got it done. Here's the ceasefire. Here's phase 1 is the hostage release. And then, falls apart at phase 2. That's happened in the past. That could very easily happen here as well.
This deal does need to go through the Israeli cabinet. The cabinet has many statements, previous elements of the Netanyahu coalition. They will not agree to a withdrawal of the Gaza Strip, so we'll see very clearly what they actually agree to, what the internal strife politics of Israel will look like. But I think finally, I think it's important to say, we're bringing Jeremy in, I think that this deal really validates so much of the criticism of this near 2-year-long war, because for the entire war, the purpose has been release the hostages. And now the vast majority of the hostages will have been released through a diplomatic solution, the absolute vast majority, not through military means. The other one is that they said that they were doing it to destroy Hamas. If phase 2 is carried through, it is a tacit admission of failure, because in that phase 2 deal, part of the framework is that all remaining Hamas fighters will have to lay down their weapons, but they will receive amnesty. And so you didn't accomplish really either of those goals. You did cause a tremendous amount of human suffering. And then finally, on the American side, just from our...
Here's the thing is that, that's because that was never actually the intent anyway. Like, that's what they say, but really what they want to do is they just want to go in and thin out as much of the Palestinian population as possible. Like, I don't know how you could possibly argue against that. That seems like what it always is with them. And it's gross and it's disappointing, but it's undeniable. That's the thing. And so, that's anyone who is able to use Google Translate and see what Bibi Netanyahu says in Hebrew right? He sends out the American messaging, which is for us, and then, oh, by the way, he has Hebrew, he'll get on video, and then in Hebrew, he'll say something completely, like literally 180-degree difference from what he's saying in English, in Hebrew. And so when he's doing that like that, how do you not look at that and say you're lying to us? And that's the point, is even in these recent talks, he has been caught in Hebrew saying, oh yeah, we're never actually leaving Gaza, and we're going to continue attacking them, and this deal means nothing. And so, like, I don't know how we can actually trust him. I don't believe that it's going to continue on through the additional phases. And yeah, if they are willing to give them amnesty, if they lay down their arms, well then, yeah, it just proves that the whole thing was a joke anyway. And so, yeah, I don't, it's just a joint operation between the military-industrial complex and Israel trying to expand their borders, and that's all that's really going on here.
This is the most validating thing, where Israeli critics would often say, America can't just force Israel to do a deal. Yes, we can. It just happened. I don't know why. I don't know why Trump finally broke. I hope some reporting and all.
And yeah, that claim, I hate that claim so much. Literally, all you have to do is stop sending them money. Like, they're the size of New Jersey. They are nothing. They can't fight a 7-front war without the U.S., without the United States backing them up. And so I hate that argumentation so much. It makes absolutely no sense. All you have to do is look at the numbers of it, right? How big is their population? How much money do they actually have? Like, we send them billions of dollars every single year baseline, and then, oh, by the way, float them as much money as they need to, ship them arms or defensive aid or whatever, so that they can just go and be hyper aggressive in the entire area. So there's no argument that can be made at all that, we could not shut it down the moment that we decided we wanted to. Like, that's what made it so laughable all the time about, oh yeah, we need to have a stern talking to. No, you just shut it off. You can end this literally at any point in time.
All that eventually does come out, but eventually it all just became too much, and he snapped at him. He forced him to read an apology to the Qatari prime minister, and he said, we're done. We're done. This could have happened under Biden. It could have happened in the interim 9 months. A lot of lives could have been saved. We're glad to see it now, but it does show you that America always had the cards. It validates all the critics who always said America can stop this at any point that they possibly want to, and that's exactly what happened.
That's right.
And also another point on that, because they just did the Nobel Peace Prize and it went to Marco Rubio and whatever. That's the thing that's such a joke about this, and I see people touting it that, like, oh yeah, Trump got the Nobel Peace Prize. And it's like, no, man. Like, the thing that infuriates me about that so much is that it is basically, it's, and this is a very ridiculous example to be using here, but it's like that saying where, you have a deal, like a sale, a coupon or whatever, and it's for something that you weren't going to buy, and you go, oh yeah, I saved $5. It's like, no, you didn't save $5. You spent $25 that you weren't going to spend in the first place. So you're not actually saving money. Same thing here, where it's like, no, you didn't save millions of lives. You've been funding this war going on, this genocide. You've killed hundreds of thousands. You've killed 100,000 plus people. You've killed whatever, tens of thousands, 100,000 plus people. You didn't save millions of lives. I guess two things can be true at the same time, right? But at the same time, you are solely responsible, because you could have ended this on day one. You could have said, you're not getting any bombs from us, and good luck. Like, you can't, they could not have executed this campaign in the first place. So being rewarded for ending something that you have been fueling is insane to me. It is completely laughable, and it is just confusing and infuriating because it's ignoring the reality of what is actually going on. And it, like, you're complicit in all those deaths. You didn't save lives. Yes, you have saved lives, but oh, by the way, you're complicit in all those murders as well, in that genocide. So, like, why are we rewarding that with a Nobel Peace Prize?
And if Trump had just been committed to his original first agreement, they never would have gone back to the genocide after he took office. He sort of just allowed them to breach the ceasefire and to never be serious. From the beginning with that deal, we covered the fact that Netanyahu was broadcasting to his own public, I have no intention of going past this initial phase. So the only thing, and we said this at the time, that could have kept them in that original deal is if Trump had forced the issue. He didn't. And so the same questions remain now. It will be up to Donald Trump to decide whether he is going to keep his eye on the ball with this thing, whether he's actually committed to moving beyond this initial phase of hostage exchange and relief and, a temporary ceasefire to actually strike some sort of a lasting deal. And, listen, we should not sugarcoat it. This is a horrible deal. It's a horrible deal for Palestinians. There's no doubt about it. However, these people have been bombed, starved, tortured, tormented, surveilled, displaced God knows how many times. So many of them just want to be able to survive, just want anything to make the bloodshed stop. And
so, two things. Number one, the reason that she was basically saying, yeah, they've went back on the deal before, right? It's fallen apart going into phase 2 before. So that's why I don't have any sort of faith that it will continue to carry through. Even with the bad terms, good terms for Israel, bad terms for Palestinians. Because they've done it before, and oh, by the way, I just got this today, mail-in ballots are already out. So when you're getting the mail-in ballots already going out, like, again, the timing is just very suspicious to me. It's very fishy. I do not think for a second that if we did not have an election coming up, anything would have actually happened. Like, Trump can bluster and make it look like he cares and all this kind of stuff, but if there was not a midterm election coming up, no one would care about this. No one at all. It would just continue as status quo as usual. And then to the second point that she was making there about it's a bad deal for the Palestinians, yeah, of course. Like, what is the alternative? It's, hey, you just continue to get bombed indiscriminately. You continue to get shot at when you go for aid on the borders. You're having all these things. Your buildings all get blown up, and you have no real recourse to it. And that's why I label this entire thing as a genocide, is because you're taking military action against a civilization or a group of people that have no real way to defend themselves, with the goal of eradicating a population, basically. And so that is why I label it as a genocide, because they have no recourse. So of course they have to take a bad deal. So to say, to criticize it, yes, we can criticize it, but like, what is their actual alternative? What is a realistic alternative to taking this deal? There is none. So of course they have to take whatever deal is put in front of them.
Thing before we bring Jeremy in, is also worth noting that in the waning hours right now before the ceasefire deal is officially struck and the vote goes through the Israeli Knesset and Trump travels to the Middle East, etc., Israel took the opportunity to ramp up the bombing in Gaza City overnight. So, they continue to bomb and torment here to the last moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly proving my point, right? So first off, right, they just ramped it up heading into it. Of course they were going to do that. But then, like I said, even in the hours since the ceasefire has started, 17 people already, and it's probably more by the time I'm recording this, but 17 people in the first few hours have already been killed. So, like, is it actually even stopping? And that's what I was saying, where Bibi Netanyahu in Hebrew is saying, oh no, we're going to continue with the actions that we're taking. So, like, you can't actually take him seriously. And that's why I'm so skeptical of it. Like, yes, I still want to record it because, hey, you should know that and that's part of it too, I think, is you should know that they have said this is the ceasefire deal. So we have, hey, here's another example of when all sides have formally agreed to a ceasefire, and then they're already going back on it. So more proof that we need to be done over there. We need to completely remove ourselves from the situation. We need to divorce ourselves from Israel in general because they don't listen. They don't listen. How and why do we continue to deal with them? Aside from greed in the military-industrial complex that these psychopaths, essentially the Israeli government, are just going to continue making war with all of their neighbors forever. So you continue to print money.
And did we read A3, please, just to give everybody the full announcement here. This is from the president last night. Quote, I am very proud to announce Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. We thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Quote, blessed are the peacemakers, Donald J. Trump.
All right, and I think that will wrap it up for me. I just wanted to cover at a very high level what was going on with this ceasefire again, and provide my thoughts on, hey, is this actually going to be lasting? Quite honestly, I don't think it will. If you are interested, go take a look at the full coverage. Their video continues on for another 20 minutes, but I just wanted to provide the very high level. There was a ceasefire that occurred, and again, provide my opinions on it. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content from me, subscribe below. That really does help my channel grow. And if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.